mentioned data.
Mm-hmm.
Can you share a little bit about communicating with data versus communicating with emotion?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for asking me this, because it's my favorite thing to talk about.
Yeah.
One of my absolute pet peeves in dealing with anybody in any kitchen environment is they work from emotion. It doesn't matter. Oh, I think Larry over there on sauté is lazy. Oh, I feel that Becky on the floor, she doesn't have the energy that she used to. Well, these I think and I feel statements are great for marriage counseling, but they suck for actually managing people. Because what are you going to do? Walk over to Larry and be like, hey, Larry, I feel that you could do better. Or, Becky, I think that your energy could be... No, that doesn't give tangible solutions for anything. Because part of being able to truly manage, whether front of the house or back of the house, is putting the correct people in the places that they need to be. So from a front of the house example, you'll have somebody who can handle a 4-table section. And then you have another person that can only handle a 2-table section. Well, it's not smart for you from a business standpoint to put that 2-table section person in the 4-table section, just because you want to be fair. And you have to be able to put those people in the right places. But you also have to have conversations with them and say, hey, Becky, you're a 4-table section person, and Todd, you're a 2-table section person. But Todd, here are the 3 things that you can do to become a 4-table section person. So that might be turn times, or tip averages, or check averages.
Reducing trips to and from, saving steps. Literally saving steps.
Exactly. All the things that you can do, and even more so in the back of the house, where it's a measurable. How long is it taking for you to execute the items? What does your kitchen station look like? What are the measurable things? So instead of saying to somebody, "Hey, Larry, I really feel like you're doing a bad job," you talk to Larry about the 3 deficits and how he can improve based on data. But too many of us just live in emotion, and that's not the way to manage anybody.
Well, how much does doing that then actually positively affect that person's emotion, which then leads them to be more motivated, which then makes it more likely that they'll follow the path to get to A to B. I really, really love that. Is there any other, having those conversations, being able to have that come from the manager, or is there some sort of nuance where you find that it's more effective to kind of have that be an intrinsic thing for that person?
I think that it has to initially come from whoever is managing that state. So if it's the kitchen manager noticing somebody, if it is the front of the house manager, whoever is in charge of being able to do that, but truly using it in coaching. And I think that we've lost the through line on what coaching is. As a coach of a team, you're on their team. So you're literally trying to get people to do something because you're all working together on a common goal. Sean Payton on the Saints doesn't work necessarily against Drew Brees, former Drew Brees. I feel bad he's gone, but you get my point. He's doing so to work as a team, and that's when you're coaching your team. That's a reality. When your chef is calling out to everybody on the line, he's doing so as a team instead of being, adversarial. It doesn't get adversarial, for lack of a better term, until you get to documentation stage. And then that's the time that you have to go through the things like bringing a witness and making sure that witness is a supportive witness, and also making sure that mechanism of how you're communicating is documented, because you realize that all your coaching is falling on deaf ears. So I think it goes back to whoever's immediately involved in that person's support and can also say at the end of it, "Oh, I've noticed you've done those 3 things. Congratulations, here's your 4-table section." Or, "Hey, Larry, nice work on your station. Now you're a trainer for sauté." That.
I'd be curious to get I was thinking about this as we start to see the rise in popularity of external, kind of like third-party HR organizations coming into restaurants to cover all things HR. Be that witness, be that person in the interview that accompanies the manager that's interviewing. Keeping track of records, doing a lot of the payroll stuff and documentation. Because a lot of concepts start off with kind of like what I'll call the minimum effective team. It's like basically what they need to open the doors, especially if it's a small first-time concept. And then as the business grows and as you start to formalize things and the initial staff leaves and you actually start to hire, it's not just the initial base of homies that came to help you open the place. You start to need these things in HR. Not saying that the book is a substitution for either an HR person or an HR, piece of training, but do you think that that holds weight, or there is a better world where every single restaurant should have HR representation on staff 24/7 and not have it be, oh, well, the wine director also is our HR person kind of thing?
Yeah, that's a challenge where the HR director and the wine person is the same, particularly the wine person, but that's it. So,
yeah, it's true. Yeah.
It absolutely is true. I have a huge value. I mean, for Fabio's concepts, we have a third-party HR company that we use out of LA, and they are, when it comes beyond day-to-day or somebody feels that they want to have a conversation outside of the four walls that they feel supportive, that they do so with that HR person. As part of our culture, there is an access to everybody, including Fabio, including me, including this third party that can assess. And I think that that's very important. However, having a person there for HR would be a nice to have, but especially for places that are first opening, you probably don't have the financial ability to have that. And if you have managers, both front of the house, back of the house, that follow certain parameters, not having disciplined conversations in locked doors and basements where one-on-one where there's no one around, not using aggressive language, not documenting in a proper manner, all of those things, then you can usually avoid a lot of the pitfalls that people fall into. There's a chapter that I wrote called How to Avoid HR, and it's literally based on one thing that we all fall into, which I call overestimated familiarity. It's when you feel that you can be more like jocular and casual with somebody, then they feel comfortable. Like you and I have just now started to get to know each other. If you decided that now that you were going to be like, hey, and stop calling me Ken and start calling me Baldy because I have no hair, I might laugh that off and be like, that's great. But inside I might be like, that sucks. I really hate that.
Sure.
But you're in a position of authority in this scenario, so I don't feel comfortable in saying, hey, Justin, that's not fair. Don't do that. So when it's a boss and staff member standpoint, so much gets wrapped up in nicknames and casual conversations and ways of communicating to where suddenly people feel like, oh, well, that's unfair. That person's treating me in this way and that person in a different way. Now, that's all fine and good in a world that if we were all architects, but we all work in restaurants. And everybody has a nickname in restaurants. And everybody drops F-bombs and gives people a hard time in restaurants. That's just it's why we work in restaurants. So I talk about reading your audience. It's a comedy thing to where you can understand are you good with everybody here? Because something you're saying one person could very well affect somebody else. So let's make sure we're all on the same page that this is what we're going to do. And the minute that it's not okay, don't take that as an opportunity to hammer that person down, pivot, and go to something else. And if you're able to have those two concepts in mind, you can have HR, but you probably don't need them on a daily basis.
There might also be something there with changing how your sense of humor gets conveyed. I think a lot of us might have a friend that comes to mind where whenever they're telling a joke, they have to curse in that joke. It's like There's something in them where the cursing makes it funnier in their mind. And you know that, like, I'm sure that there's a way that you could probably be funny without the curse words in that sense. And so maybe there's something there of just reevaluating how you convey your sense of humor. Because I enjoy ragging on my teammates too sometimes. I think it's like that can actually be a really healthy dynamic when you're not doing it in a way that could ultimately be harmful. So maybe there's something there too.
So how do you pivot from when it's the level of, hey, I'm giving you a hard time, to where now I'm going to put back on the boss hat and I'm going to have to admonish you for something that's going wrong? How do you deal with that?